Good morning, Corky Alexander here. Hope you all are doing well today. Hope you had a good Christmas and good New Year. Um, I wanted to talk a little bit about worship music in the church and American guitar playing. Um, Often you will hear the criticism. They do this about country music, and they criticize new country music in this way. And also in the church, we have people who say we need more of the old hymns and less of the new worship songs. And I think there was a time when they called these worship wars. But that war goes on outside the church, it goes on in the culture and different cultures. When I was privileged to go to Uruguay and to conduct a blues guitar clinic at the university, um, I discovered at that time something I had never heard, and that was that Uruguay has its own style of blues guitar playing. So that when I went there and I showed the slides of Muddy Waters and B.B. King and Robert Johnson and all that, and then demonstrated some of the country blues technique that I play, also the uh, the blues rock uh, technique that I use. It's kind of a British blues thing blended with an American blues, but it becomes clear that music is culture. Obviously, uh, we we hear the definitions of culture uh, as being uh, the thoughts, the ideas, and the products of a people group, and so we my specialty is intercultural studies. That's what I ended up being, was an intercultural studies educator, and so I'm keenly aware of culture and uh, the the role of music in the culture. And of course, I'm born in Atlanta and raised in southern U.S., and I'm very much a deep South American by culture. Uh, and so, if you go into churches today, you might be going into a very traditional church that is singing hymns, uh, the Isaac Watts hymns and the other hymns that are in the hymnals, and there might be organ and piano there and no other instruments. That's one situation. Uh, that's kind of way behind what I want to talk about, because now, if you go into a pretty live church, and the one that I attend is that a lot of young people, very dynamic, lots of instrumentality. My son-in-law is a worship music instructor, and he's a producer of that music, and very capable, I might add. Real proud of him. He and my daughter Emma, and then my daughter Hope and her husband Josh, they are also involved in what you might call the contemporary worship music movement, which you know uses a lot of music from Hillsong uh, and also Redding, California, and other places. Uh, some of it comes from here. I'm in Hamilton, Alabama. Well, this worship music is often criticized as being pop or not sacred music. And of course, there for something to become sacred, it has to be given to God. So that's a very subjective term. There is no sacred uh, music style. There is no Christian music style, because there have been Christian artists that have been in every style. Um, Aretha Franklin was gospel in the soul area. Um, you know, Mark Farner is gospel in the rock tradition. Um, John Michael Talbot is Christian in the folk tradition, and on down the line. And of course, there are bluegrass gospel groups and blues gospel bands. So there is a whole arena of gospel, even in the blues category. And if you go into jazz, there are also Christian jazz groups. Uh, and so it's very vast and it's very diverse. Um, so, what do we do about this criticism of New Country that it's not real country because it's not Hank Williams and George Jones, but that is something pop because there's been this tremendous move into the Nashville area, even by Southern rock people, and now Nashville is everything. It's a lot of LA people have come to Nashville and so forth like that. Well, the answer to this is to study uh, the music of your culture. In order to do that in the southern U.S., you have to learn about Appalachian music. You have to learn about African American music. You have to learn about bluegrass and country and western, which some argue that when Johnny Cash married June Carter, it united country and western. Um, Whatever your belief is about that. But to get back to the roots of music, and there are some great DVD series up on this, like Country Music by Ken Burns, or Roots Music is a good DVD collection where you can learn about the origination of the music that is in the South. Also, a good DVD documentary is Hillbilly, but it's narrated by Billy Ray Cyrus, and I really like it. It includes stock car racing, snake handling, religion, uh, moonshining, and the music, all of the American South. Uh, so you have to go back to the original articles to study what is American music. Uh, Now you can just emulate a pop style, a popular style that could be sourced from anywhere, or you can go back to the roots of the music of your culture. And that's what I did because I bought into the British rock and roll British invasion initially as a popular style that I was going to follow after and did and still do. Uh, until I realized that the British invasion groups were doing covers of soul music and R&B music that was originally from exactly the place in America where I was living. So you have to peel that orange. You go back to the sources. This is just like doing research in, say, theology or sociology. You have to go back to the originators of the original theories or the original influencers and find out where this came from. Why do we do the music this way? There are people that were pioneers and innovators like Ma Carter, A.P. Carter, or, uh, you know, Muddy Waters or W.C. Handy. These are the innovators and the originators of American music. Sam Phillips, uh, originally from Florence, Alabama, uh, started Sun Studios. These are the original sources for what is now American music. And so to go back, and so what I encourage worship musicians to do is don't just get on YouTube and learn a lot of worship songs that your church likes, but at the same time learn to play some styles of American guitar music because the guitar was popularized by Sears and Roebuck. They sent them out with the catalog orders all over America And that's where these stars that you follow after, that's where they first began to take up the guitar in the 50s and 60s, and discover the roots of uh, your gospel music of your area, of you know who you are. And many of us, the first Christian music we listened to was Southern gospel. Of course, Elvis got more gold records doing Southern gospel than he did rock and roll gold records. And so this is a discovery. And once you learn this, then you're going to become interested in Southern gospel. And I don't just mean the white quartets that were singing on Sunday morning on the Gospel Singing Jubilee, or the all night singings. I'm talking about behind them there were African American uh, quartets who were singing gospel music. And today, probably the nearest thing that we have that's available, the Five Blind Boys of Alabama uh, would be one of these kind of gospel groups. And so to research the background, then it all blends in with everything that you know. Uh, in food, we do this uh, when we realize that much of Southern cooking, sweet potatoes and lima beans and cornbread and you know barbecue ribs and you know soul food, Southern cooking was originated by black people who were the slaves cooking for the households in the Deep South, um, and we all picked up on that type of cooking, and so to go back to the roots, then you're really studying the realities and the blessings that God gave that we own. Just some thoughts. I hope it's helpful to somebody.